So the Parliamentarian, but we're here at the Bitcoin.com studio, has a lot of power right now. But just remember, back when this was under Joe Biden, in March of 2021, 24 Democrat members of Congress wrote a letter to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris requesting that Harris overrule the Senate Parliamentarian, raising the national minimum wage. Ultimately, Harris ruled in accordance with the Parliamentarian and removed the provision. So J.D. Vance can overturn it once it gets to the floor, but this really is a John Thune thing, and John Thune's got to work through this. This is all on Senator Thune. If there is no reasoning with her on stuff that obviously is financial, for example, there's no reason whatsoever that no Medicaid funding for illegals should not be in this bill. Just figure out the right way to word it. Period. End of story. That is 100% a budgetary measure, without question. And that would save us hundreds of billions of dollars. If you can't get no Medicaid funding for illegals, figure out how to word it in a way that can pass the parliamentarian threshold. But let's be honest, this is way too much power for one person in D.C. This is structurally a problem. And if you were to fire the parliamentarian, the question is, who do you replace it with? And understand that would send shockwaves throughout the Senate. I know a lot of us in the grassroots have very little respect for this stuff, but the senators there, they think the Senate is like this wonderful thing and it's very regal and great. They think so highly of themselves, and they look at the upper chamber as being the thoughtful and philosophical chamber that really deep thinking happens. But look, we shouldn't put that off the table if it gets to it. If Elizabeth McDonough gets in the way of President Trump's agenda, then we can change the rules. There are many measures that we can get to at this point. My biggest concern is, why is this even program have one person that's able to get in the way of what we obviously want to do and what we should be able to do? She did not win 7 swing states. She did not win a popular vote majority. And she's a staffer. She's not like Senate confirmed. She's not a judge. She's not Article 3. It's really kind of a creation. Let's put this up on screen. It's very important history. So the office of the parliamentarian does have, of course, constitutional roots. Article 1, Section 5 says each house may determine the rules of its proceedings. The office of the parliamentarian were created in the House in 1927 and in the Senate in 1935. The parliamentarian answers questions from the presiding officer about the wording of motions and about precedents related to motions or actions. The current parliamentarian, as mentioned, is Elizabeth McDonough. She's been in office since 2012. Harry Reid put her there, which should make us have a little bit of pause. And by then, appointed by Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. The budget reconciliation process is only supposed to include provisions that, according to the Congressional Research Service, quote, would change laws related to direct spending, revenue, or the debt limit. Hold on. So spending, revenue, or debt limit, no Medicaid for illegals is absolutely is spending or revenue. Now, she's an officer appointed by the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, and they're generally preserved across parties to maintain harmony in the Senate. But they have been removed before, and so we should not dismiss that as something. If she keeps on acting in a way where there is no negotiation, then we got to get rid of her. Robert Dove was a parliamentarian picked by Republicans and got fired when Democrats took over, and then came back when Republicans took power again, but then got fired by Republican Trent Lott. So these kind of fights have happened. But let's be honest, the fact that she's in the news means we have a little bit of a problem. We just got to be honest with ourselves. We should not know her name. You should not know her name. We should not be dedicating precious time on our program to Elizabeth McDonough. Illegals getting Medicaid is a red line. That cannot be allowed. Figure it out. If she gets in the way of illegals getting Medicaid, then we're going to have to ratchet this up a little bit. But I want to just make sure we are being fair. This is not a final ruling. This is not a complete judgment. Let me read from you from a top source, a text message that I was texting. The Democrats are leaking. This is the best source that we can have. Better than anyone on cable news, trust me. The Democrats are leaking about what the parliamentarian has done. A lot of it is either out of context or will be dealt with through very minor language changes. There is a version of the Medicaid stuff that will be passable, but the Democrats are leaking this to try to F us politically. Okay? That's a top-tier source here. But we're making you aware of this growing situation. But let me just repeat this. Quote, the Democrats are leaking about what the parliamentarian has done, but a lot of it is either out of context. Oh, the Democrats would never lie and the Democrats would never leak. By the way, that's why the Democrats were not briefed on Operation Midnight Hammer, because they would have leaked it. And quote, a lot of it will be dealt with through very minor language changes. This is a game and a game of spin, and it's largely a propaganda war. But we got to keep our eyes on her. If she stands in the way of us getting rid of Medicaid for illegals, dramatic action is necessary.